My name is Wamonje. I believe we have interacted quite a bit on this platform as far as me having these conversations with fellow professionals and those outside of the profession. So I am a HR consultant with Atara Solutions, and I'm also a HR practitioner. Today we are here to discuss the HR misconception, something that I have interacted with quite a bit following my years of experience within the industry. So I am open to hearing your questions, and hopefully we'll find a way forward. And by the time we leave this conversation, I think we would have transformed a few minds to think of HR beyond just hiring and firing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Richard?
Thank you, Anne, for that introduction. My name is Richard J. Magoma. I am a certified human resource practitioner. I am also a trainer. I am also a writer. I am a life and career coach. I am an event MC. Currently, I'm spearheading Men in HR Convention 2023, which will be in Mombasa. And briefly, we are here to learn. We're here to have a conversation about, when we're talking about misconceptions, what are the stereotypes? So let us learn from all of, I know people from Uganda are here, people from Tanzania are here, people from all of Africa are here. Let us exchange, because when we exchange these misconceptions, we transform HR into a powerful force of transformation. We are here to listen. We are here to exchange wisdom. We are here to exchange experiences. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Richard. And Kevin, you can take the shortest time possible. We are almost at 8:20. Just quickly run through the partners.
Thank you, Grace. Allow me just to give a shout out to our partners who enable us to air these webinars to you every Tuesday. We have Stallion Construction Company. Stallion Construction Company, they are specialized in making sure that your office is subdivided or your house is subdivided from scratch. Or if you wish to do renovation on your floors, whatsoever, name it, within your office or your house, please get in touch with Stallion Construction Company. We have Pathway Solution Services. Pathway Solution Services, they major in trainings on LMS. LMS is Learning Management System. Thank you, Sir Frank, for always making sure that our viewers have an opportunity to learn with Pathway Solution. And the beauty about Pathway Solution is you have your learning in your own time. Thereafter, you have your certificate to prove that you did the course. We have Panessa Training Institute. Panessa Training Institute is a woodwork company for those of us who wish to work or study carpentry, or you just love working with your hands as a part-time or full-time. Get in touch with us and we'll be able to introduce you. The August intake is already on, so if you wish to get in touch, please get in touch and we'll be able to keep you connected. We have WeClean. WeClean, they major in cleaning of carpets, sofas, house, and office cleaning. So they have a machine that can clean your carpets within 6 minutes. So if you wish, and you are not, you are the busy person, or rather you are very busy, as HR, we are very busy. So you need your office cleaned, get in touch with us and we'll link you up with WeClean services. We have Suluhu Mediation Center. Suluhu Mediation Center, make sure that you have a mediation certificate. For us as HRs or even manager or any other person who loves to be a mediator and do something on the side, Suluhu Mediation Center is the course for you. Kapula Mintito, they sell and have Mabuyu, Kashata from the coastal region. If you are within Nairobi or outside the coastal region and would love to have a taste of their mabuyus, their kashatas, we also have their link, and we can be able to help get in touch with them. Profiles International Limited, Profiles International, they do psychometric tests, and they're the only company that does Geno's emotional intelligence within East Africa. So they also have an offer for those of us, for the Atara solution viewers. So if you have or you want a disc that is a personality test, get in touch with us and you'll be able to enjoy this offer with them. We have Elsamere. Elsamere is located within Naivasha. The ambience, I tell you, their food. This is the time that people are already looking for the solocation vacation periods, and they are already planning for the festive season. Please call them and just tell them that you've been referred to them by Atara Solution, or you've been referred from Get It Right, and they'll be able to give you the best offer. We have SN Limited and Steadfast Quality Solution. This one is a HR and PR consultancy firm in Uganda, and this one is none other than Herbert Zake. Herbert Zake, we thank you very much for making sure that we are able to reach people within Uganda, and you are able to also promote us within Uganda. Last but not least, we have Labor Planet, which is a human capital expert firm. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you, Kevin. And of course, we recognize the presence of Catherine Sidandi, our sign language interpreter. Thank you very much, Catherine, for making us inclusive. We appreciate the work you do, and soon we are going to learn. You need to teach us what Get It Right is in sign language, so that next time Kevin can be able to to demonstrate. Or is it Anne, or is it Kevin? I mean, the whole team at Atara Solutions, Jacinta and the likes, we need to know how to do Get It Right in sign language. But that is not the lesson of today. So I think one day we need to have a webinar and understand sign language interpretation and the challenges that comes with inclusivity. But anyway, let's jump onto the conversation of today. And we are discussing the stereotypes or the myths that come with HR professional, or rather the HR practice. And surprisingly, or I don't know whether this comes as a surprise or not, to Anne and our audience, we released the HRMPEB CHRP exams the other day, and turns out that people are not performing very well in strategic HR subjects. They are doing very well in administrative tasks. I don't know whether that answers the question on the misconceptions, or we are just winning ourselves into the strategic roles. And I think that is part of what we would wish to understand. And what is your comment on that, Richard?
Yeah, one of the reasons why HR people do not get positions, or they do not get those positions, CEO, in fact, we can count CEOs who have HR qualifications on my fingers. The boards of organizations think, rightly or wrongly, that HR people are not strategic thinkers. It means that, as you have said, that they perform well in issues of administration, whereby they are able to say, is there tea? Are there chairs? Do we have laptops? Issues of ergonomics. And they cannot be able to think strategically. They cannot be able to align HR functions to business. And you know, when you want to align business objectives to HR functions, there's a lot of thinking that is involved. There's a lot of data crunching, number crunching that is related to HR people linking their functions to business. So the people who appoint CEOs, the people who appoint chief operating officers, at the back of their mind, I can remember, Grace, you remember one of the chairperson of the Public Service Commission saying that unless HR people change so that they can be able to think in a strategic manner, they will operate in lower levels of being rewarded. You remember, even right now, you know, HR people is put under corporate affairs because they think, or most people think, that we cannot be able to connect strategic matters to HR or connect human resource functions to strategic thinking. That strategic thinking is complex. It needs a lot of intuition. It needs a lot of mathematical thinking. It needs a lot of simulation. It needs a lot of modeling, which HR people, according to those people who have those stereotypes, cannot be able to do it. So that is why you will be able to find that we are not being rewarded with those powerful positions. And as you've said, probably it is high time for us to be able to start thinking in very strategic fashions, by thinking business-wise, by thinking like entrepreneurs. We should not concentrate our abilities to people management and forget that indeed the people are there to serve the interests of the business. Let us move away. Yes, business skills, people skills are very important, but we should not remain in people skills alone, like communication, like empathy, like emotional intelligence. We should be able now to be able to stick our heads to strategic thinking. That is where now it is important for us to use, for example, human resource information management systems, which will lessen our clerical work, so that now we have more time to think in a very strategic fashion. We should be able to think like warriors. We should not be able to think like people who are just pepper pushing. Okay, that is the position I can give Grace.
Thank you for that, Richard. Anne, I don't know what your comment is. This is the result of the exams that were released the other day, CHRP exams. HR people are doing excellent on administrative tests, but when it comes to strategic HR analytics, strategic HR, HR entrepreneurship, and all these things, we are not doing as well as we are expected to do. Do we need a mindset shift, like Richard has put it? Do we also need a shift in our organizations? Do we need to lobby for our positions, or where are we exactly?
I think, in my opinion, as far as the strategic HR is concerned, we need to understand that for quite some time, HR has been categorized more as an administrative function. And that is why you will hear phrases like HR is pepper pushing. When we hear that, you know, HR is always somewhere back in the background where you are the one that is doing the filing, or in summary, when you say hiring and firing, that summarizes, in most organizations, that basically summarizes the HR function. And then in between here, between the hiring time and the separation period, there is a lot of work that the HR does as far as the development and the career advancement and generally the well-being of the staff is concerned. But then that has not been taken note of. And then things like HR analytics, these are subjects that are taking shape in recent times, because for quite some time, we have not really intentionally discussed HR analytics. And I'm glad that HRMPEB has revised the curriculum, and HR analytics is part of this curriculum going forward. And I want to believe that in the next 2-3 years, when we revisit these exams and we revisit the kind of trainings that HR practitioners are currently attending around HR analytics, strategic HR, basically, there will be an improvement. But right now, rightfully so, I would want to say most HR guys have really focused on administrative work and forgotten about their function as far as the success of the business is concerned. And truth be told, without the HR bit, that the success of the business, unless it's an IT firm where they are using computers throughout, most organizations, especially labor-intensive kind of organizations, they rely heavily on the HR to provide the manpower, right? But then the HR does not go beyond providing the manpower, because once I have recruited, then what? That is where now the disconnect comes in as far as strategic HR is concerned. Because once we have brought on board these guys, then we separate ourselves, and then you'll find that is where the finance department is dictating how employees are functioning within the company. The operations department is dictating a lot of things, while HR is on the sideline, when it should be taking the front seat as far as making sure that these guys that I brought on board are actually being the best versions of themselves and contributing towards the success of the business. So Grace, from my end, I think the conversation has started as far as intentionally talking about and implementing strategic HR thinking into businesses. And in 1 or 2 years, I would like to look at the results again, Grace, and I can promise there's going to be a huge shift.
You're quite right, Anne. We love compliance issues so much. So it is important for us now to have that reshaping of our mind, the transforming of our mind, so that we can move away from compliance issues are very good. That is the law, employment law, and all that. We shift our gears towards where will this organization be? What will recruitment contribute in terms of profit, the profit and loss of our organizations? Yeah, we should shift from compliance alone to futuristic mindset. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
But again, just before Grace comes in, I agree with you, Richard. I agree with you, Anne. Somehow, not only should the HR change their minds, but also the organizational perception should change. Because remember, you'll find that yes, as HRs, you've changed your mindset and all that, but you find that there are very limited resources allocated to the HR unit. For example, how many organizations allocate sufficient funds just for the HR? That is for the strategic planning, for the strategic thinking, for even making or taking these HR personnel for business classes, because most HRs don't have those the business acumen that is required for the strategic planning and the strategic focus of the business. And thus, that is what leads most of the HR professionals to end up doing, or because of the organizational perception, they end up doing most of the clerical work, that is the soft skills, instead of doing the strategic role or as they are required to. Back to you, Grace.
So thank you for that contribution, Kevin. But I do understand that we need to move our mindset. We need to move away from the clerical duties. But sometimes we're in organizations that don't allow us. What do we do, Richard?
Thank you very much. And as Kevin was contributing, I was thinking about change management. Transformation, as our topic today is HR transformation, through debunking the stereotypes and the myths that surround HR. We should encourage human resource practitioners to be very good change agents. It is human resource practitioners who have the skills, the attitude to change people's minds. So it is good for us to invest in change management tools, in change management strategy. Why do people resist change? What causes change? Why should we change? What are the benefits of change? Once you realize why people are resisting change within the organization, they're not giving you funds, for example, they're not giving you enough support, you should be able to do some research. We should be able to do some research using surveys, for example, through observations, and see why people are not supporting our programs and initiatives. Once we realize why they are not supporting our initiatives, we are able to deploy learning tools like coaching, mentoring, training and development, so that we can be able to shift. Because when the HR practitioners are well equipped to change organizations. It is for the benefit of the organization. It frees their contribution from paper pushing to idea contribution. And this is where I think HR people should really, really invest in change management. Why people resist change? For example, if you want an organization to change, how do you convince the people who give money within the organization that this program is going to bring return on investment? If you say, oh, let us go to Mombasa and the train, without providing what is it going to do for the organization? Is it going to reduce customer complaint? Is it going to bring quality product? Is it going to bring profit by 20%? Is it going to increase the brand of the organization? So Grace, I think it's very important for human resource practitioners to invest so much in the politics of change management, in transforming policies, in transforming people's minds, in transforming people who are resisting, in becoming reservoirs of knowledge. You can change, as we are told, knowledge is power. When you have knowledge to change people's perceptions and people are persuasively convinced that the programs, the initiatives, the activities that you're bringing on board will be able to bring money to the organization, people will listen to you. If you go to the accountant, this training I want done will bring this kind of profit. It will reduce wastage, for example. For example, if you want to bring, for example, a payroll system that is faster, why should we have that expensive payroll? What are the benefits? That is change management. That is transforming, so that you are thinking in terms of business gaining profit out of what you are doing. Speak in the language of profit. Speak in the language of minimizing wastage. That is when people will be able to listen to you, provide the numbers, provide the benefits of the programs you are undertaking. Grace, I think we should invest in change management, basically. Change people's perceptions. And there are so many theories, there are so many schools of thought on how to change people.
All right. Thank you for that, Richard. And I know you are an expert trainer on HR for non-HR, and maybe you can pull up a few things that we can learn from, and especially educate the people who are here starting out HR professionals. And also, just to make an announcement, next week we are hosting an HR who's been in the field for over 30 years, and he's going to teach us how to develop human resource strategies, because it is, everyone says come up with a HR strategy. Your strategy in HR must be based on the company strategy, but how exactly do we come up with a HR strategy? That is our topic next Tuesday. But tonight, we are debunking the misconceptions and the myths about HR professionals. And with us is none other than Richard Magoma, and of course, Anne Wamonje, and our very own Kevin. Kevin, I don't know whether you have a question for Anne, or rather for Anne, I don't know whether you're ready with HR for non-HR, and you can tell us how to bring value, or rather how to support, because we have HR professionals and non-HR professionals on the call. How do we then make sure that we are transformative, like Richard has said? How do we help other people understand the job we do? Or rather, what is the role of HR, and how can we teach managers to become HR professionals?
All right, thank you, Grace. So now, when it comes to HR for non-HR, what that basically means is providing an understanding of the functions of HR to other departments that don't necessarily perform HR functions. The challenge with most organizations is that everybody wants to be the HR in the company. Everybody knows what needs to be done in the process of recruitment. Everybody knows how that person needs to be fired from the company, or what they need to be trained about and whatnot. And then at the end of the day, when you put all these cooks in the kitchen, you know how that stew ends, right? So when we do HR for non-HR training, what we basically try to make employees in an organization understand is, what does the HR really do in this organization? And number two, what is your contribution towards the success of the HR department? Because whether you are in operations or you are in finance or you are in sales or whatever, you will interact with HR at one point. It doesn't matter which department you find yourself in. And the HR makes certain decisions, and there are certain policies and procedures that need to be followed that employees don't necessarily understand. Why is the HR telling us to do this? You get. So when we do trainings for non-HR people, we try to get them to understand why certain decisions are made in a certain way that are not necessarily popular, but they need to be made at that time because they're in the interest of the business and they are legal and they will keep the company out of litigations. And also it protects the employees at the end of the day. That part is sometimes not understood by employees. And by the way, Grace, I just want to emphasize this to all the people here who don't work in HR. There are certain things that HR people do behind the scenes to protect employees that employees never get to know. I personally, I know there are days that I know so-and-so is going to be fired, but I take it upon myself to talk whoever is trying to convince me of that firing out of it, because I know I need to give Richard a chance, because he has some level of potential and contribution they can bring to the company. But that is something we don't put on the billboards for people to read along Mombasa Road. Why? Because it is our duty to be able to protect employees even as much as we protect the employers. So what I would like to urge employers who may be on this call or who would listen later is, make sure that you find time to educate your staff so that they understand that your HR is not there to just hire and fire. This and this and this is what the HR does as far as this business is concerned, so that the next time the HR is calling you to the office, it is not because you have made a mistake. Sometimes we just want to find out how you are doing and whether you are fine and what else we can do to assist you. You understand that? So yes, Grace, HR for non-HRs will be able to make to contribute transformatively to organizations, because it will create awareness even through the top management as far as the actual role of the HR is concerned. But then also for my fellow HR people, you need to also show value. If you just sit there and wait for to be asked all the time, what have you been doing? What is your contribution to our business? You will stay in that HR position as a HR officer for 7 years and nobody will make an effort to promote you.
Let me throw in something.
Value, yes, Richard.
Yes, thank you. You reminded me, and thank you very much for reminding me something. There is that misconception, Grace and Anne and Kevin and the fellow listeners, that HR people are reactive people. They do not initiate programs. They wait until they are told. You know, when you are reactive, you are firefighting. You are there to just give Panadols, you're there to give painkillers, instead of starting programs that will stop certain problems from happening. When you are a proactive, that is priceless. That is something that is highly priced. So we should move away from firefighting to being proactive, to being self-starters, being able to defend our programs and activities and give reasons why those activities are very important. Back to you, Grace.
Right. Thank you for your contribution, Richard Ann. I think we are rolling this dice quite well. And we are hoping that by the end of this conversation, the HR professionals who are in HR and still doing non-strategic roles, they're going to do that. And then they will also take upon themselves to actually train the non-HR practitioners in their organizations to understand the role HR plays in the institutions. And I want to just say this. It is a very, very good time to be HR in the world right now. COVID was actually really, really good for us. It actually emphasized the role of HR. So if you're an HR professional, when you're invited to the table, please make sure that you bring value. Make sure that you do not go on the, so for example, if you're a board member, don't go to the board and start serving tea, you know? And this has been, now it is really bad for especially female practitioner, HR professionals. They sometimes go into the boardroom, they're invited for the SMT. By the way, if you're running an organization and your HR is not sitting in your SMT, you need to review your processes. You need to review your management style, because we are running, organizations have switched. We are running people-centric organizations. It's the people that take care of your customers. It's the people that take care of your profits. It's the people that take care of your stakeholders. It's the people that take care of your business. Businesses should be run for posterity and not just for the sake of running. So I just wanted to say it is a really, really good time to be HR. So don't feel like we are attacking you. Don't feel like we are saying, oh, you should. It is true that you should, yes, but don't feel bad. There's value for you. So it's not as bad as we used to. By the way, we used to fight for our positions. We used to, Yani, sometimes I remember the days when we started HR, where you would sit with your boss and be like, we cannot do that. In fact, I remember when my employer, I used to go and say, I'm not writing that letter, because he wants somebody to leave now, there and now. So you go and say, no, we cannot write. And he insists. So what I used to do is I write and put his name there. Give it 1 hour. Then I take it to him. Of course, he's no longer as angry as he was. And when he sees my name, he'll know what decisions we have made. So as HR practitioners, we need to understand the people we are working with, and we need to teach them what HR is, because that is the onus is on us. We must teach them what HR is. But now, I don't know whether we have any questions from the audience. Kevin, I don't know where we are at. And by the way, just to remind you, we're actually live on YouTube. So for anyone who is normally used to going to Facebook, we're not on Facebook tonight. We are live on YouTube. And yes, Kevin, what are the comments saying, and what are the questions on the chat?
Just as I go through the comments, there's just one question that popped up here. Can HR professionals handle financial and business aspects of the organization? What do you think, Tim? We can start with Richard.
Yeah, it is like you've read my mind. There is that general feeling that human resource practitioners do not understand the psychology of money. And they are deemed to be extravagant. That is a perception, a stereotype. They are deemed to be extravagant in their programs. They bring programs that do not bring value. Return on investment. It is a cost center. It is a cost center. That is what most people think. But now, if we are able to use data and convince the powers that be that a training and a development program will bring money to the organization by attending courses that teach on how you can be able to transform initiatives and activities into a financial outlook. Therefore, we should be able to train people within the organization, the psychology of money, the essence of money, the issue of handling money, the issue of handling generally. We should be well equipped in making people understand that money is a scarce resource and it should be used in an efficient and effective manner so that you bring more profit to the organization. There is need for HR people to attend conferences, webinars, read books on money so that they understand how to manage money, how to use money so that you get profit. In fact, board people, you can read it unconsciously, the unconscious language that HR people, they'll bring a lot of programs that will not bring profit just because the budget is there, there will be no benefit, just like the way it's done in the government, just because the budget is there, let us go and train. No. For you to be a strategic thinker in terms of financial management or financial literacy, bring the benefit, make sure that I have been given this budget of 200,000 Kenya shillings. I'll make sure that people are very well coached and mentored on how to produce quality product so that this quality product will bring more profit. And once these quality products bring more profit, there will be an increment of pay. So that is how strategic thinking is done in terms of financial literacy. Let us read books on money. Let us attend seminars on money. Let us know how we should turn money into profit, such that we are able to convince the owners of the captains of the industry that HR people can be able to convert money into profit. HR people can be able to understand what has caused the loss within the organization. HR people are able to understand how a phone, for example, if you're in the phone industry, how a phone is brought into existence so that it can bring profit, how a particular product or a particular service is made, and how you manage expenses so that you can be able to get good profit. I think that will be something that will add value to the organization. Speak in financial terms. Speak in financial terms when you are at the table. You don't be the theologian of the board. Don't be the person who is who knows the culinary skills of all hotels. Talk about money. Talk about how a particular initiative will bring more profit to the organization. How, again, before even I give back the mic, it is deemed that HR people are not very innovative. They cannot bring new services. They cannot bring new products within the organization. No, that is a misconception. HR people can contribute towards bringing in new things to the organization that can bring profit. But you have to persuasively articulate that I can be able to bring an idea to the organization that can bring money. Back to you, Grace and Anne.
Anne Wamonje, might you be having anything to say on that? Please go ahead.
I think for me, my contribution is there's something Grace said when you're invited to the table, you need to show value. Unfortunately, sometimes you will not receive that invitation to the table. But if you can see the table, please show up. Do not wait to be invited, because what happens is that as HR people, when we take the back seat and we wait for the invitation, and then after a while, people forget that we exist. They only remember when there's a problem. Do not be the one that is remembered when somebody has passed away in the company, or somebody needs to be gotten rid of, or there's a crisis. You see those Monday morning meetings that everybody is crowded in the HR office because it is fire, you know. So the point I'm putting across here is, do not wait to be invited to the table. Sometimes you just need to step up and show up and tell your boss or your managers that, look, this is what is happening within my department. This is what I have done for the last, say, 3 months or 5 months or 6 months, and this is the support that I require from you guys. So when they continue to hear you say the language that they are really looking to hear, I can tell you a time will come when no decisions will be made without your input. People will be asking, but where is Anne? Last time she suggested 1, 2, 3. Now we cannot move forward without this person. So step up and go to the table. Don't sit there and wait to be served. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Richard, you seem to be having something. Just
I've seen a question by Harriet. She's asking, what are some of these initiatives that HR people can be able to bring to the organization? Earlier, I had spoken about transforming the mindsets of the organization using change management toolkits. Now, let's say that you have a program, you've seen that people do not have the competencies to do their work by observation, by doing a survey. you discover that people do not have skills. Then you decide that you should be able to bring a training and development expert so that they can be able to equip these employees. But before you even think that you're bringing an expert, what will be the benefit of this training in terms of value to the organization? And this has to be done. I'm sure if I mention metrics and analytics, Nelson will be very happy. You do the metrics. What will the training bring on board? Is it going to reduce accidents? Is it going to increase the profit margins by 20%? That is one of the programs. Another thing you can say, let's say you have a lot of customer complaints because probably your products and services are substandard. Once you've realized this, you can initiate as an awareness that, for example, that the customer-centric approach should not be a department, should be a mindset. You train people. Then once people have been able to understand that customer-centric philosophies are meant here to bring a good image to the organization, produce good products, it reduces expenses. You know, when you produce quality products, it means you will attract and retain. You know, you can attract customers and not retain them. So, but you can only retain those customers by quality products, quality services, okay? All right? You do a lot of measurement in your surveys, in your analyses, in your observations. That is one of the other things that you can initiate so that an organization is able to produce a philosophy of customer-centric approach towards doing things so that you attract more customers, so that you can have a good brand name and you continue. That is now thinking in a very strategic approach. Another thing that you can be able to do is, for example, these days we know that social media has become where business is done. So what are you doing so that you can promote social media approach in doing business within the organization? This can be done through training and development. You either bring people who are social media savvy, digital business people experts, so that you can get businesses from the digital world. That is another thing that you can be able to do so that people see, when you are talking about social media business management, the person to go to, it is Anne, because she understands how to bring profit from Instagram, from TikTok, from all manner of social media. That is another thing you can do so that you can be able to bring value to the organization. What kind of things are you doing so that it reflects that you understand where the business is going in the next 1 year, 2 years, okay? There are so many things that you can do, and these things can be found within the HR functions. The recruitment you are doing, what benefit? Are you just recruiting for the sake of recruiting? If it is training and development, are you just doing recruitment, learning and development for the sake of it? If it is compliance, are you saving litigation cost? You can be able to say that this year I've saved litigation cost by this much. You know, people will be able to listen to you that it is because of the training that you had that you have reduced litigation, because people have been able to, the supervisors, and you spoke about HR for non-HR. Have you been able to train supervisors so that they can be able to approach issues of compliance very well? You know, when supervisors do not understand how separation is done, they will cause a lot of damage to the organization. But once you make them understand this is, in fact, by the way, strategic thinking is whereby you empower supervisors of an organization to think like a HR person, so that some of those mistakes that are done within the organization, for example, poor management, things like constructive dismissal, things like sexual harassment, if you are able to train supervisors to think like that, and the organization is going to have a good reputation, people will always remember the value that there was a HR here who reduced litigation. There was a HR here who could train people and we could have more profit and we could have less wastage, etc., etc. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Richard. As you are talking, there is a comment that was written here by Mbogo Gidenji. To HR professionals, be clear about your HR framework. What is your strategic framework, the big 5, etc.? Based on these areas, what are you going to offer the business and how are you going to deliver it? Then communicate this to the business leaders, create data platforms around your functions for insights. Business trust the data and not opinions. Lastly, to HR leaders, ensure your function has the capability, capacity, system, processes, and guidelines that drive the transformation of behavior and realization of your organization strategy. That payroll system or unrevised policy should be your private border because business leaders focus on the big picture. Grace, what is your thinking towards the same comment?
I think Mbogo has totally nailed it on that. In fact, I was reading his other comment, which has really impressed me, that growth as a HR transformational leader is not a destination, but a journey. I think if you're going to take away anything from here, it is just remember that this is actually a journey. It's not a one-day process. But Kevin, the question I wanted to answer, there's somebody who asked, what if a business does not have a business strategy? How are you supposed to come up with a HR strategy? Yeah. As a HR professional, you, Richard has said and Anne has said, part of our work is to become the change agent. So if your organization does not have a strategic plan, it is your duty to try and push for one to be developed, right? And you don't have to complicate things. If your seniors don't see that as a need, you actually just need to sit with your employer and find out what are the 5 things you'd like us to achieve this year. You know, every end of financial year, towards the end of that financial year, sit with your leaders, understand the 5 things or 3 things they wish to achieve. And then once you have that, those are strategic objectives. These are the goals, these are our targets, this is where we want to be. Now come to you as a person and ask yourself, where is the people equation on this one? Where are the people going to clip in? Yeah, what is the role of people in these 3 objectives? Now that informs your strategy when it comes to HR. So don't worry about, oh, we keep saying that organizations need to have strategic plans. It doesn't have to be there. You can actually initiate and become the first person to ever come up with such in your organization. Now, Richard has spoken about a few things that you can do. There are also initiatives like employee wellness programs. You can come up with the simplest of things, and some of these things don't even require budget. Sometimes you look at your organization and see, if you come up with a budget-oriented initiative, you may not be listened to. So sometimes you also come up with initiatives that are not necessarily finance related, and then you start implementing them. And especially when it comes to employee wellness programs, then staff engagement. Sometimes you just roll out a survey by yourself. You don't have to welcome Nelson. Nelson, good evening. I've seen you on the chat. You don't have to have Nelson come and help you in data analytics. Yeah, you just can start with your own. You can just roll out a Google Doc and just ask 3 questions to your employees and get to measure their happiness index or the engagement. Some of these things they'll give you feedback. Make sure that you're engaging your staff always in decision making. Now, don't be the HR who just takes the report that has been given. Seek to understand the other party as well. That is part of the people-centric organization. So that then, instead of focusing on the business is not doing this for me, question is, what are you doing for the business? Yeah, I see a lot of HR people saying, oh my God, these people don't allow us to do this. They never allow us to go for team building. They never allow trainings in this organization. Have you been sharing Atara Solutions link to your people? We do trainings for free every 8 o'clock. This is part of the way you plug in. Nelson has sessions that happen every Thursday. Have you been sending those links? You can't just sit back and say you're not going to excel as a HR professional because your organization does not support. You just need to open up your mind and make sure that your initiatives that can run. There's a friend of mine who, when he joined an organization, he was told they cannot celebrate birthdays because they do not have a budget. You know what he did? This guy went and negotiated with a cake shop. He negotiated to be getting discounts, and he promised to be paying for those cakes from his pocket. He would spend 1,500 every month or 2,000 shillings, and they'd have a cake in their office. And to a point where he actually now was able to negotiate with the institution after they saw the results of people coming together just to eat that cake and celebrate this birthday. Do we have guarantees in terms of like retention strategies? There are no guarantees in this life, but you have to do something. You can't just sit back and not do anything. So yeah, I really wanted to answer that question on what if we do not have a strategy? What do? We need to be proactive. We need to tujitume tu Ugandans. But you need to tell me what kujituma is in Luganda, or in the Swahili people on the call know. So Burundians and the Malawians on the call know. And the Rwandese, you can tell us what this means. But yes, it is upon you to actually take these initiatives to do them. By the way, sometimes you just need to be sure. You know, sometimes pick information from here and then go and look like you own that information. And go and share the information sharing. You know, shine. That is how you actually will now be told, and let's squeeze this table for you. And when there is no table, please create one. Come up with a Monday meetings for SMT, senior management or senior leadership teams. Initiate those meetings, collect feedback, task the line managers to give you feedback, have meetings with them, try and be consistent, even if the employers don't believe in having meetings. Talk to them, have 7:30 o'clock meetings in the morning and get to a line. Start pole, and then you can now become value. So yes, we are demystifying stereotypes and myths in HR profession, and we are also focusing on the HR transformation. And I'm very passionate about HR, Kevin. And yes, and what to add?
Grace,
Yes.
I was just looking at one of the comments here as far as the misconceptions are concerned. And somebody made a comment about sometimes employees feel like the HR is so much on the side of the employer, and that is where the problem begins. Now, let me put it out very clearly. As a HR person and as somebody who has practiced HR for the number of years I have, I can tell you as a matter of fact, there are days that as a HR person, you will have to side with the employer, because when you look at all the facts that have been presented, the employer is actually right. And then there are days that you will have to side with the employee. And that is where also the employer starts to feel like you are pro-employee so much that now they're starting to wonder who employed you in the first place, you know. But the point here is HR is basically they say is a double-edged sword. It cuts both sides. So on the days that it does not favor you, you need to find out why exactly that decision is being made, because I can tell you there's a reason. And sometimes it works against us as HR people when we have to make certain decisions continuously that favors the employer, but then you realize at the end of the day, it is the right thing that needs to be done. And so for the employees, please take note. First, seek to understand why the decision was made against you, and also to the employers. Once you bring in your HR person on board and you still want to tell them exactly what to do and how to do it and where to do it and when to do it, then you can just do the work yourself. Don't waste money. Don't waste that money on that HR, because you already know what needs to be done, right? But anyway, that is on a light note. The point here is, at the end of the day, we need to understand why and from where that decision is coming from. And that is why HR for non-HR trainings is very key. And at this point, I would like to call upon everybody here who is representing an organization that has not done HR for non-HR trainings. Grace and myself, we are offering ourselves tonight to offer that training to your team. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Kevin, before probably something I
Yes.
want to say is caught up with time. There's something that people think about HR people, that HR people do not love technology. We do not embrace technology very well.
Mhm.
Yes, it is important for us to demystify this misconception that HR people do not love machines, do not appreciate machines. Employers love machines because machines reduce costs of production. If a HR person embraces the essence of technology, computerization, automation, and all those things that make work easier, you will become a darling of the organization, so to speak, because you are saving costs, you are increasing the capacity of production, you are promoting. When you reduce costs, when you promote the speed of production, it means you are going to have more profit, it means you're going to have more products, it means you're going to have more products. It is important for us as HR practitioners to be technologically savvy, to get into places whereby technology matters are being discussed, such that we are able to contribute what technology can do to an organization. Some people fear that if we bring a lot of technology within the organization, separation is going to increase. But people who are going to be separated are those people who are not embracing technology very well. But if you are able to become a HR person who knows what is the role of technology in business, then you are a strategic thinker, because that is how people in business world think. What machine can I bring to the organization so that it reduces those repetitive works, so that there are less expenses, I'm having more profit, I'm having more wastage. HR people should embrace technology. They should attend courses, they should attend talks that entertain or embrace technology, because that is how business is oriented. You remember the Industrial Revolution, where in fact, by coincidence, we had the start of human resource, the welfare officers and all that. Let us embrace technology, because that is how strategic thinking is born. That's what I wanted to say, Kevin and Grace. Let us embrace technology as HR people.
I think, Kevin, before we say we are finishing, there's a question from Karemi, who says, for financial aspects that Richard has talked about, how do you bring out the same aspect in the NGO sector? Yes, Anne.
Maybe I could say something on this aspect, because for NGOs, because these are not profit-making organizations, so it's the financial aspect in terms of business growth and how much profit we are making does not make sense in this context. However, as a HR person, NGOs run with the programs are funded, and these programs run within a budget. So as the HR person, what you should be able to be conversing on the financial aspect is, as far as these budgets are concerned, the utilization of the budgets, are we working within the budget, and are the programs that we are running successful? Because these programs are run by the people, right? So are the people that you have there actually delivering on the programs within the budget constraints or the budget framework that has been provided by the donor or whoever is providing this? So still the point here is, as the HR person, you need to show value. If you are not able to show that value, then you are missing the point in this point. So look at your programs, look at the budget, look at the people, and see how this balances out, that at the end of the day, what you had set out to do and the budgets within which you had set them out to do, you can look at it and say this was successful, we worked within the budgets, and this is where we are at this point. So I think for me that would be able to explain the financial bit of it. Grace?
Right. And I think to probably add on to what you said, Anne, there's one thing that I normally just encourage HR professionals to do, or any professional, for you to measure your value, for you to measure your contribution to the company. Look at your job description and ask yourself, if I did this one right, what would be the answer? If I did recruitment right, what would be the result to the organization? If I did training right, what is the gain? If I did employee relations right, what would be the gain? And there are two things that we normally ask of business leaders. You need to weigh or look at it from your side and say, there are two objectives of a business. I can tell you this for free. There is a reduced cost or increased revenue, technically. So if you're in an industry that has no cost revenue generation as an aspect to it, ask yourself, what are the cost reduction measures that you can have? And please include the efficiency of these programs. So if you're in the INGO sector, completion of projects, the efficiency of those projects, in terms of funding, were you able to utilize the money that was given for the right thing? And how does the success of a project look like? What is the equal sign to whatever task that you're doing? If you get into a habit of doing that, then it is easy for you to create value or define your own value for the organization that you're contributing to. So I don't know. I think, Kevin, I think it's time for parting shots, because we can have this conversation forever. It's already 9:15.
I totally agree. I totally agree. As we are preparing for our parting shots, that is to you, Mr. Richard and Grace, allow me just to reiterate what Richard had mentioned, that Richard and Dan, actually everyone within the panel, that we must identify the value that we are bringing on board. And you should not sit back, but instead pull the seat to the table, and at the very least, bring your ideas on board. If not, kindly make sure that you use the appropriate measures to channel these ideas, so that at the end of the day, the HR can not only be seen or viewed as a cost unit or a cost department, but rather it can be viewed as a value addition unit like any other. So I hope all the panelists are ready. Just before then, allow me to once again mention that this webinar is brought to us by Stallion Construction Company, Pathway Solutions, Services Panesa Training Institute, Weeklins, Luhu Mediation Center, Kapula Mintito, Profile International, Steadfast Quality Solution Limited, Labor Planet, El Samea, and Esenpark. Let's start with, they said, ladies first, but men just before. Mr. Richard.
I love that tongue twister. Kevin, this has been a wonderful conversation about how we should reshape, remold HR. And HR can be remolded not by outsiders. It can only be changed by the practitioners. Don't wait for the CEO. Don't wait for the CEO to transform HR. You can transform human resource by the initiatives that you bring, not within even the organization, within the HR fraternity. How active are you? Do you write in your LinkedIn so that you can change people's minds? Do you write? Do you speak? Do you contribute in social media platforms about what HR does? If you are not doing that, why do you expect an accountant to change how people think about HR? How do you think people will transform HR from audit. No, they can't. It is you as a HR person to become proactive and totally change the narrative, how people perceive. It is you to rebrand HR. Don't wait for outsiders to rebrand HR. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richard. How about you, Ms. Wamonje?
Okay, from me, what I would put as my parting shot as far as this conversation is concerned is just a quick word of advice to my fellow HR practitioners. The change we are looking for is not going to come, like Richard has put it, outside of the HR space. It is going to come from within us as HR practitioners, and it starts with the small steps that we take. It doesn't have to be anything grand that you are doing within the company. For instance, if your employees feel like the HR is hard and difficult and all those negative things people talk about in HR, as you come in as this new HR person, you need to be able to still do your job, but show them that actually HR is not that you thought. Because I know we've walked into organizations where people, when we are introduced as HR, they're like, wow, it is about to go down. But in actual sense, your role there is to transform the organization to make it better. So how do you make this happen? The baby steps that we are talking about, the little things that you do to the employees, those ones are the ones they remember. That time you called me into your office to find out if I was okay. That is the part that I will remember more than the policy that you are reading to us at the assembly. You understand? So all these baby steps that we make to change the space within the HR place, that is where over time, the perceptions that we are looking for from the employees to change, the perceptions that we are looking for from the employers to change, they take shape based on the small steps that we make every day consistently until they stick. And finally, as far as value addition is concerned, if you don't show your employer what you are worth, most likely your employer will think you are worthless. He is just there. But until you step up and say, by the way, this is my contribution to this business, because there are some employers that need to be shown. When you just sit and wait for them to notice you, they will not. So show them what you are doing, show your value to that company, and demand, and I am using the word demand with a pinch of salt, demand your space at the table, so that when decisions are being made about your department and you are not there, you can come and question those people who made the decision and ask them, why did you decide you are hiring so and so and you did not consult me? So step up and ask for your space within the company, because if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. Thank you, Grace.
Okay, perhaps before Grace speaks, I can also want to appreciate people from Nigeria. I've seen Damirora is here. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, Grace.
Thank you so much, Bwana Richard. Last but not least, allow me to allow Madam Grace, our moderator of Face, to give us her parting remarks.
Oh, Grace, Catherine would have
Yeah.
given us her parting shot, but based on the fact that we cannot read what she's saying, so she can send it to us on email.
Oh my God, today has just been fun, and today it's just been amazing. So my parting shot, work on your confidence as an HR professional, and the way you work on your confidence is by building your competence. Competence builds confidence. So make sure that you build your confidence by becoming more competent. So you need to go back to school, go back to school. If you need to join these conversations, join these conversations. Have a voice,
But the voice can only be as loud, it can be only respected if it is factual and it also is communicated in a very respectful manner. So work on your competence and then your confidence will build up, and consistently seek to learn. The labor laws in our industry keep changing. You need to keep abreast with what is happening in the legal or rather in our technical areas. So that then when you're seated at the table, you're just saying, by the way, this has happened, therefore our policies need to change to 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And also remember, you're human before you're a resource. Okay. So, and HR professionals, by the way, don't forget you're also employees, right? So as you demand for your seat, as you try and advocate for respectable people-centric organizations, remember that you're also human. Remember to take care of you human first, right? So all of us are employees, and remember to also just teach the other managers, teach your employees that you're also an employee in as much as you're the HR. And that means you can also be fired at any time. Hey, just so you know, right? Even you, but then sometimes you used to hear you're the one who fires people, and then all of a sudden you're the one who actually need to be fired, right? So you've taken through the due process and then you're the one to be fired. So remember that you're also an employee, and as such, you also need to invest in yourself for your own career growth. So competence builds confidence. Make sure that you're working on your competence so that then you can come up, build your confidence, and therefore you are able to add value, and people can start respecting you for the value you bring. Sometimes, like for example, we work, we are in public sector making some contributions there, and sometimes the only respect they have for you is the only reason because they know you are a professional, and that is fine because they don't have to respect you for anything else. The fact that they can respect your professional opinion is good enough. So don't ride onto the stereotypes. We started with demystifying the stereotypes. Don't just keep it there. Just make sure that you're being the change you want to see as you go along. And I wish you the very best as you initiate the HR initiative and be proactive in your own ways. Nelson says the voice must have content. Of course, you must have content on the table. You cannot just come there and then you're saying things until people look at you and they're like, huh? Mpaka when they hear HR is calling for meetings, they're like, oh my God, which school did this one go to? So yes, and by that is what I'm talking about. Invest in yourself, invest in your competence, and then you build your confidence, learn how to communicate, learn how to lobby for your results, learn how to also communicate respectfully, and also rally people, rally followers, so that then you can have a successful HR department. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the opportunity. I don't know how I turned into a speaker.
we were magnetic. You were drawn in.
Yeah.
I think I ended up. We cannot have a conversation in HR that I cannot contribute, but I really appreciate that we were able to have this conversation today. And thank you, Anne and Richard, for jumping in on such short notice. I really, really, really appreciate. And I hope that we can continue having these conversations as we go along. Yes, and right, back to you, Kevin. Oh yeah, there's somebody who was asking for YouTube, not YouTube, our WhatsApp group. Your speech.
Our WhatsApp group.
I can't help but be a moderator. What are the sasa bas?
Right. Cynthia has already shared, but it can always be reshared. Thank you so much, Bwana Richard. Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you so much, Catherine Sidandi, for making sure that you are always inclusive. And please, for all of us who are in this session, if you're not in our WhatsApp group, make sure that you join our WhatsApp group, Get It Right with Atara Solutions. Follow our Facebook page, Get It Right with Atara Solutions, and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram, Get It Right with Atara Solutions. We will be happy to host you again on Tuesday, same time, same place. We are delighted. Thank you and bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for being around.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Good night.
listening. Let's create an impact. Bye.